Introducing first, representing the main event from St. Louis, Missouri, weighing 200 pounds, he is the Iceman, Tony Johnson.
Our first round action of the Rise Tag Team Tournament continues here. Our second opening matchup, as the Iceman, Tony Johnson, will have his opportunity to pick his opposition, as Johnson and a partner of his choosing will take on System Elite.
You gotta wonder what's going through the mind of Tony Johnson to come out here. Does he know the individual? Is he a friend? Is he an old foe? How exactly is this going to play out?
Let's see what the Iceman has to say. Who is his pick for this tournament?
Ladies, it's nice to see you. When I first heard about this tag tournament, I was upset because I didn't have anyone to tag with. Duke and Gannon are doing their thing, and London is doing her thing tonight against Jinx. But then, opportunity knocked. There was an opening for the main event to go to the finals. Duke and Gannon in one bracket, me and my mystery opponent in the other bracket. Partner, it's a mystery. Just enjoy the mystery, okay?
It's like a Scooby-Doo episode out here, Paul.
You guys mind if I chew my gum real quick?
Those meddling kids.
Now you sound like a true 30-year vet.
Thanks for that.
It's not juicy fruit. I was at Uprise, and I saw a young man that looked like, with the right guidance, he would be a great addition to the main event. Man, this is really good. So, tonight, we may see someone enter the main event, but it's on him to prove himself. So, ladies and gentlemen, get ready for my partner.
Well, this is a surprise, Paul.
The successful Saint Jordan Styles.
Mystery partner. He is the successful Saint Jordan Styles.
Jim, we saw this young man a few weeks ago at Uprise. It was a very impressive performance. And now, apparently he has a chance to prove he belongs in the main event.
The Emmy award-winning athlete, yes, he legitimately won an Emmy. And as you said, Paul, this man had a barn burner matchup against Bray McKenzie at Uprise, which you can watch exclusively on the Indie Wrestling Network. Jordan Styles has turned a lot of heads in a rather short period of time, but what an opportunity for Styles here, entered into the Rise Tag Tournament.
This is his chance to prove that he is a top caliber athlete, because let's face it, Tony Johnson is just that. The main event is just that. We're going to find out tonight if Jordan Styles can step up to the plate.
And their opponents, at a total combined weight of 435 pounds, from the south side of Pittsburgh, the new ugly Edric Everhart. And from Wilton, Virginia, a cartoon contender, Tyler Cross. And together, they were the team of System Elite.
System Elite, the longest tenured tag team in Rise Wrestling and one of the odds-on favorites to win this tournament.
System Elite, the standard of tag team wrestling in the tri-state area. As you said, Paul, some people are hedging their bets on System Elite. We may be looking at the very first ever Rise Tag Team Champions.
Tony Johnson's taking a hike here, it seems.
Hey, pal, you got a matchup in the ring. Referee Josh Main trying to let Johnson know this matchup isn't going to start until someone enters the ring. And Paul, I'm going to ask you here, because right out of the chute, we have Jordan Styles being added to this equation. None of us knew who Johnson was going to select as a partner. Obviously, System Elite didn't know. How does a tag team, when you don't know who your opponents are going to be, how do you adapt to that?
Well, it makes it tough, obviously, but like I said before, System Elite, Ty Cross and Edric Everhart, they are the longest tenured tag team in Rise Wrestling. This is not their first rodeo. They know how to take on all contenders. They know how to take on all comers. I think they'll be just fine with this little curveball Tony Johnson thought he was going to throw in here.
You may be correct, because System Elite, they really are the definition of tag team continuity. Of course, my name's Joe Mata. He's Paul Atlas. Unfortunately, Lola is a little shaken up after that run-in with the Grindhouse. She had to step away. But Red Watson, our part-time ring announcer, part-time correspondent, and part-time whatever else he does. Red, you're here.
Great to be here, guys.
As we have Johnson and Ty Cross ready to hook it up here.
These guys are no stranger to each other. They've been down the road before, so this is not the first time that they've come up against each other. So the System Elite knows Tony Johnson. Jordan Styles, however, is going to be the wild card in this match, simply because not much is known about him by anyone in this match.
I have to say, Paul, just on the surface, Jordan Styles, with his Emmy award-winning accomplishments and how much he likes to brag about it, he certainly would fit into the main event, because they are very braggadocious as a group. However, they can back it up, and Jordan Styles has a chance to back up his claims in this matchup here.
Well, this is where he will prove whether or not he's all show or he's got something to back it up.
System Elite obviously very eager to get this matchup started. And I really believe, we saw an up and down year for System Elite in 2018. They won some, they lost some, they had some adversity. However, they can erase all of that. They can put themselves on a new platform. They can really cement their legacy in tag team wrestling if they go down in the history books of Pittsburgh wrestling as the first Rise Tag Champions.
And that is, without a doubt, their goal right now, is to prove that 2018 was just that, a fluky year for them. And that in 2019, they can rise to the top, no pun intended, once again, by becoming the first ever Rise Tag Team Champions. But they're going to have to go through some serious competition to get there.
Absolutely, and to your point, to underscore that, Johnson, a true pro, as soon as his shoulders hit the canvas, he kicked out at 1.
Tony Johnson knows where he's at in that ring at all times. I've been in the ring with Tony Johnson, and I've been in the ring with System Elite. And let me tell you what, none of these guys are slouches. They all know their stuff.
We talked about how Tony Johnson really has found himself inside of Rise Wrestling. He's really taken his game to an entirely different level here in Rise Wrestling. If Tony Johnson puts himself in the tag championship conversation, he really solidifies that status. But as I said, System Elite tag team continuity personified, as we're seeing the tandem offense as only System Elite brings to the table.
And as you said, not just finding his way in Rise Wrestling, but since Tony Johnson has joined the main event, that mean streak, that arrogance, it's gotten more and more prominent. The main event, Duke Davis and Gannon Jones Jr. has brought out the aggression and the arrogance in Tony Johnson to a point.
It's over. 2.5. Continue, Paul.
Very close. Yes, it was. But as I was saying, they've brought that out to a much different level, and thus that has made Tony Johnson a huge, huge competitor in the singles ranks. Now he's trying to find his way in the tag team ranks.
Snap measures Johnson over, does Edric Everhart. Measuring Johnson. And this Lamont Furnace crowd has really adopted System Elite. And I think Everhart's trying to give Johnson a bad hair day.
I'm saying, I tell you what, somebody want to offer him some conditioner.
Tagging to Jordan Styles. And Red, I'm going to ask for your opinion here. You're a rookie in the wrestling business, much like Jordan Styles. How does a rookie rise to the occasion? Again, no pun intended. How does a rookie not surcease any butterflies on this stage, quite literally under the bright lights here in the Stronghold?
Well, I think the big thing for Jordan Styles is he has some in-ring experience on Uprise shows. I think the big thing for him is going to be how he adapts to competing in a tag team environment and how well he's able to sync up with Tony Johnson in this match. I think that's going to go a long way toward determining how far he and Johnson can go in this tournament.
Nice escape from Styles, rolled through, slapped on a side headlock to really control his opponent. And Paul, you can speak to how elementary but how important that aspect is.
That is. It's very fundamental, but it also brings a lot. When you squeeze down on those temples, you cut that blood flow off. You make that opponent a little bit weaker. But I want to bring up an important point here. Not only does Jordan Styles maybe have to prove himself in this tag team tournament, as can he be part of the main event. Even though Tony Johnson is in the main event, the tag team of the main event is Gannon Jones Jr. and Duke Davis. So now it is up to Tony Johnson. Can he put himself on the same level as the undefeated main event tag team?
Now, wait a minute. I believe we're seeing some dissension between Johnson and Styles. Styles gave props to Tyler Cross for a evenly matched exchange, and Johnson wasn't too happy about it. So certainly some dissension in the ranks between new tag partners. That can happen in these situations.
It can, and I think what it is Tony Johnson's trying to tell Jordan Styles, look, we're not here to shake hands and kiss babies. We're here to win a match.
Jordan missed the contact, but Tyler didn't. However, that allowed Johnson to exploit the advantage, hit Cross right in the face with an uppercut. Edric is very upset, but he's not doing his tag partner any favors because Cross is getting mugged at ringside.
And people may think, oh, that's a wrestling ring. It's like a trampoline. There's a steel bar behind that ring apron there, so that does not feel good when your back is driven into it the way Ty Cross's just was.
And you notice how Johnson measured Ty Cross for that elbow. Hit him right between the eyes.
Everything Tony Johnson does is very, very deliberate. It may seem sometimes like he's flying by the seat of his pants, but he knows what he's doing in that ring at all times.
And I believe that fluidity that Johnson brings to the table, the way he's able to transition from maneuver to maneuver, may be his biggest asset. Styles asking for a tag, and Johnson does not look very receptive. And that may cost him here. This dissension, when you're there with System Elite, a top-tier tag team, if you're not on the same page, you're going to be looking up at the lights.
And this is where that could be. I mean, Tony Johnson has been primarily a singles wrestler. In tag team wrestling, it's just that. You've got to be a team. You've got to work together. That's why Gannon and Duke are where they are today.
Shoulders down. You're correct, Paul. And it's a very interesting dichotomy because, when you think about it on the surface, you may say that the main event is the odds-on favorite here. They're undefeated, so that by proxy, that makes them the favorite. However, it could be destiny for System Elite. They were born and bred for tag team wrestling.
That's true.
And that's why this tournament has so many interesting dynamics. You have Golden Sheik really looking to make a statement in their own right.
I mean, you have teams that have been down the road together, and you have teams who are getting together for the first time. You have teams like this team that seems like they just drew a name out of a hat and said, here you go. But it's all because everybody is after the same thing, and that is the Rise Tag Team Champions. Again, if you want to be anywhere in tag team wrestling in Western Pennsylvania, you want to be right here in Rise Wrestling.
Jordan put on the brakes, and man, did he wrench the knee. That's an innovative maneuver, and he may have injured Ty Cross there.
Let's not forget, part of System Elite's problems last year were knee injuries suffered by both men.
At the hands of the main event.
Exactly.
So it's no accident that Jordan Styles targeting the knee in that exchange.
I'm sure Tony Johnson passed that information on to him.
That's a good point. We don't know when Johnson offered this spot to Jordan Styles. Maybe they did have some time to strategize. It certainly looks like it because Johnson is immediately targeting that knee.
I said on the surface it may look like he drew a name out of a hat. But like I said before, Tony Johnson's a very deliberate competitor. He may have had this planned for weeks.
Johnson is very meticulous with everything that he does, and that's why he's taking his time measuring Ty Cross and looks to again exploit the knee. And Paul, you're a man with artificial knees because of your time in professional wrestling. Can you speak to how vulnerable those knees can be with the ACL, the MCL, the patella tendon, all that?
They're one of the most vulnerable parts of the body, and part of the reason I have that problem is Tony Johnson. My original knee injury took place at the hands of Tony Johnson. He tore my meniscus in the middle of a match. That was the downfall. That was the start of all my problems, and that's why I sit here today, because of a man like Tony Johnson.
And that may be what he's trying to do to Ty Cross here. And let's not make any mistake about it. As Johnson aggressively just hammering shots down on Ty Cross, let's not make any mistake about this here. If you sustain an injury in this tournament format, your run could be over very, very quickly.
That's very true. I mean, this may not be a one-night tournament, but you only have a matter of a few weeks before we move on to the next round. You damaged knee ligaments. It takes more than a few weeks for those knee ligaments to heal up.
Absolutely. We're back here March 2nd, our next Rise event. So certainly everyone in this tournament tonight has to be weary about that.
And you know, that's a point to the matter, too. Just because Jordan Styles and Tony Johnson are in this tournament, they are part of the main event. This could be a main event plan. Johnson may have no intention of winning the championships, although I don't know why he would. But, you know, he may be softening up who can be honestly the best competition for the main event in this tournament is System Elite.
Textbook spine buster from Styles, floats over. And Ty Cross getting the shoulder up, but it may be a matter of time because Ty Cross has sustained a substantial amount of punishment for several minutes. And I believe we're seeing some dissension in the ranks here. Red, I'm going to ask you, you were backstage before this event started. Was there any discussion? Did you see Styles and Johnson talking to one another? What was the story with Tony Johnson and Jordan Styles?
Well, Tony Johnson was very, very mysterious about who he had chosen, and he kept it very tightly under wraps. So if he's had this planned, he's certainly done a good job hiding it from everybody, including me and you.
And again, we're seeing Johnson trying to direct traffic here. It just feels to me like Styles and Johnson are not on the same page. Jordan avoids the contact. Tag is made. And Edric Everhart is going to clean house here.
He is, without a doubt, the proverbial house of fire right now.
This is Edric's wheelhouse. Beautiful release German drops Johnson right on the back of his neck. And a Blue Thunder bomb for Styles. No, Jordan.
That was close.
Jordan got his left shoulder up just barely. You got to give Styles credit. He is not going to relinquish this opportunity easily.
No, we've seen Jordan Styles. We've seen a limited sample size of him, but what we have seen so far, he is without a doubt a big-time competitor already. So let's see what he... Oh.
And there's Styles showing wisdom beyond his years, able to capitalize on a slight miscue from Everhart, who again is forced to get his shoulders up.
He turned that into a very innovative move. You wonder if he planned that or if he just pulled that out of his hat.
Well, being able to adapt inside that squared circle obviously is something that's going to have to take place in this tag tournament.
Tony Johnson apparently interjecting himself on a tag again.
Styles is upset. Johnson is arguing, and this doesn't bode well for this makeshift tag team. Meeting of the minds here. And System Elite may be able to take this one to the bank. Stiff right hand. Diving ace crusher. Beautifully done. Hooks the leg. And he got it.
And System Elite is moving on.
In a time of 13 minutes, 13 seconds, your winners, advancing to the tournament semifinal round, the team of System Elite.
The tag team continuity of System Elite raises the Duke over Tony Johnson and Jordan Styles. The longest tenured tag team in Rise Wrestling is moving on in this tournament.
Gentlemen, we talked about it earlier. we may be seeing System Elite get one step closer to cementing themselves as the tag team of Rise Wrestling.
I get it. You may not do the main event, but while this happens, I can understand why you might be the weak link of this.
And wait a minute here, Johnson just blindsided Styles. Talk about a case of sour grapes.
Apparently he did not like the comments that Jordan Styles just made to him about his position in the main event.
And now Johnson assaulting Styles.
And here comes, wait a minute, here comes Brandon Kay.
Let's not forget, Brandon Kay is the trainer of Jordan Styles. Styles is a product of the Stronghold Academy. Johnson completely blindsiding and assaulting Styles.
And I think we're seeing a challenge here from Tony Johnson to our owner, Brandon Kay. Tony Johnson might be wary of what he wishes for.
Tony Johnson may be regretting his beef with Brandon Kay, because as we know, Brandon Kay wants to make 2019 one of his most historic years. Could we be seeing Brandon Kay and Johnson at some point in the future here?
Well, I'm sure Brandon Kay would love to make an example out of Tony Johnson as Kay goes on his victory tour for 2019.